You're listening to Breaking Formation, a podcast with your hosts Jordan and Erin.
We are two former NFL cheerleaders using our platform to connect the pro dance community and redefine the word cheerleader one episode at a time. So this week, we interview Bria, who is a 7-year vet of the 49ers Gold Rush, and we both cheered with for a few of our years on the team. And she also did 1 year with the Golden State Warriors dance team. So she has a lot of super valuable things to say in the world of pro dance and knowledge in the industry. And she actually was my first big sis on the Gold Rush, so she's definitely a special person to both of us.
Yeah, it only made sense to have Bria as our first guest on Breaking Formation. Throughout the episode, we cover a lot of different topics, everything from, your rookie year to growing up on a team and role models, having that role model on, a team and within, your dance life, and just, breaking boundaries in regards to diversity within the pro dance and cheer industries. So please enjoy
our interview with Bria.
All right. We've got Bria here. Say
Woo!
hi, Bria.
Bria.
Hi, everyone.
So Bria is just, where do we start with Bria, Jordan?
She's our first guest on our show, so I think that says a lot about her.
Exactly. So clearly she's super special. She has quite the resume in regards to just pro dance. I mean, even like a super exciting professional resume as well, which I'm sure we'll get to later. But just in regards to her pro dance experience, she had 7 seasons on the 49ers Gold Rush, 3 of which I was lucky enough to cheer with her. And was it 4 for you, Jordan? I guess it would have been 4 of your 5 years, right?
It would have been 4, yes. And she also just wrapped up her first and final season with the Warriors.
Yes. But wait, we forgot to mention, like, within those 7 years, like, what did she accomplish? Like, there was just so much. Like, it was Super Bowl your first season, and then you also ended your 7 years as Pro Bowl cheerleader. So we've got lots to talk about, lots of exciting things.
So, Bria, do you want to maybe just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
So let's start with a brief background of what got you to just audition for a pro dance team in the first place.
You guys pretty much said it all. I danced for Niners for 7 years, Warriors for 1 year. But thinking back to when I first wanted to audition, I feel like I don't even really remember the first time I decided to audition for a team. I just knew that it was something that I've always wanted to do. It was probably like my senior year of high school. I was like, yep, as soon as I turn 18, I'm auditioning. I'm going to make this team. I'm going to make the 49ers. And really, the Niners were like the only team that I even wanted to audition for. I mean, Raiders was always like the second option, but I never actually auditioned for the Raiders, even when I didn't make Niners. I auditioned when I was 18 years old, back in 2011. I didn't make the team, and then I auditioned again in 2012, and I made the team, and I did it until 2019.
That's awesome. And
that's kind of how I got started.
2011. That's wild.
And
I know, almost 10 years ago.
That is like a decade ago. That's
crazy.
Insane. Like,
and
I love
it.
After
your first rookie season, I think you received an award, correct?
I did. Oh my gosh, you're good. I was most improved my rookie year. I was.
Mm-hmm. Oh, like just I didn't know that actually. That's a new fun fact for me. But that's also what Jordan got her first year, right?
Yeah, so I think that's kind of like how I always remember.
That's a cute little connection.
Connected.
I know. So Bria, did you dance in high school, or what is your like? Were you cheer? I feel like we might have talked about this before, but I honestly forgot. Were you cheer or dance?
I did a whole lot of everything, honestly. Okay. I feel like I think I took my first ballet class when I was like 8 years old. I didn't really stick to it though, even that was kind of like where I first started. I always wanted to be a ballerina. So I got started that way, and then I actually tried out for like a Pop Warner team, which we did song pom and competed like that. I
Yes,
think I
Pop
did that
Warner.
first in yes. I think I was 9, so I think I did it like right after ballet, and I danced song pom for that Pop Warner team for I think 4 years.
Wait, what was
Okay.
the team name of the Pop Warner
The
team?
team name, yeah, it was the Selena Steinbach Cubs and Tigers.
Oh
Oh.
my God, cute. I think
Yeah, it was the best.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's how I got started. I did that up until high school. We were competing, like I said, USA jams. We did all those competitions growing up. I took classes like recreationally, like at different dance studios. I mean, my hometown is not like super big on like studio dance.
Yeah.
Everyone does Pop Warner though. That's like kind of where we all get started. Not really, trained in the studio. So I did have to like kind of have that ambition on my own to like ask my mom, please take me to a dance studio so I can get some formal training. But I did in high school. I did cheer. I cheered for 3 years in high school. We were definitely just like your typical like high school cheer team. We didn't really compete or anything. I'm not going to say we were terrible, but we definitely weren't the best.
Were you throwing people in the air? Like, were you stunting?
No, I mean, we did that very little, but still like the traditional like song pom, like, cheer mixed with like jazz. I would say that's like kind of what I've always grown up doing.
Okay.
And then in college, I took some classes here and there, like a little bit before I made Gold Rush. But again, I made it when I was 19, so I was like still just fresh in college. So after a while, I just kind of stuck with Gold Rush, and then so I've had an interesting upbringing, not like the typical path to NFL, NBA dancing.
Yeah. So what made you decide NFL over NBA?
I was just always a Niners fan, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just grew up and I loved the 49ers, and I thought the cheerleaders were amazing, and I would always like stalk them. Mind you, back then it wasn't like we had Instagram or anything, so I was really just looking at the website, like back when you look at the roster.
The bios.
I remember certain girls would stand out. I would read the bios. It wasn't Instagram anymore, so I don't really know how much of the stalking I could have really done, but they just always like stood out to me, really.
Oh,
so being a Niners fan and just like being obsessed with the cheerleaders, I knew I wanted to be on that team. And when I tell you I auditioned at 18, like I knew with all my heart I was going to make that team. And when I didn't, I was crushed because I went there that morning like, oh, I'm going to be on the team. This is what I'm going to do. So I don't know. I mean, when you have that drive, I mean, I made it happen, right? So
yeah, you did.
Well, yeah, and I wanted to kind of touch on, not making a team for the first year. I obviously can relate to that. But it was in a completely different sense. So it always like is really interesting to me, like where people come from, like what backgrounds they're coming from, and what is like pushing them and motivating them to audition for each specific team. And for me, it was just kind of like, like it was like in the back of my mind, but I wasn't like a deep rooted Niners fan. And so it's like when you're fresh out of high school, were you already going to a college like straight out of high school, or did you, because I know you went to San Francisco State, right?
Yes, I did start though at a community college. So I went to Hartnell College in Salinas. I went there for maybe a year, and I wanted, this is back in high school, I thought I was going to major in dance. I didn't end up majoring in dance, but I was kind of like, I want to major in dance. I'm going to go to my community college and take dance classes. But like, jokes on me, there was no dance classes there.
Oh no.
So I ended up moving to San Francisco, went to City College of San Francisco, where I was able to take a bunch of dance classes. And while I was doing that, I moved in spring of 2012, and I made Gold Rush like 2 months later. So I didn't even really dive into the dance classes really, and I ended up changing my major to language anyway. So
wow.
I don't know. It got me here though.
It like totally okay. So because I'm trying to like picture 18-year-old fresh Bria out of high school, like lifelong Niners fan, and like not getting it your first season, like it's even just like being in that world like for a week, like kind of just wandering into an audition, like I was so invested. And so I guess like what did you change for that next year going into auditions? Like, do you think it was just like a little bit more maturity, or what do you think was what got you like onto the team that second year trying out versus your first year?
Well, just to let you guys know, I didn't even make it to finals my first year. I was
Really?
only there
Okay.
on prelims. I didn't make it to finals. Yeah, I got cut at the end of
Wow.
at prelims. So I really didn't really get that experience of like, stick around the whole week, meet the coaches, meet the girls. I didn't get that. So I was crushed. I remember, like I said, I thought I was going to make that team. So when I didn't, I remember being like, I'm never dancing again. This is not
Oh,
for me. Like I was anti everything. And I was coaching the Salinas Alvarez Titans cheer team then. And I remember thinking like, I shouldn't even be their coach. Like I can't even make this team. Like I was so down on myself,
oh no.
dramatic, 18 years old. And I spent that year kind of like, I'm not doing that again. Like I can't take rejection. It was my first big no. So I really wasn't even planning on auditioning again for that team. But actually, let me go back because when I auditioned, I didn't make it. I met this girl that also got cut, and she told me, I'm going to audition for Raiders next week. You should come with me, if we don't make it. And I was like, yeah, for sure. I'll go with you. I
Scandalous.
didn't make it. And,
Yeah.
right. I know. I can't believe I'm telling a story.
Just hop over the bay.
But, and she really wanted me to go with her. And I just didn't want to audition for the Raiders. I didn't know. I just got cut. I was already down on myself, and I just didn't want to even be on that team really. But, I told her I would go with her. And I remember the night before the audition, back then Raiders had to wear a dress to the first day of auditions. Like there was no dancing. It was just
interesting.
wear a cute dress.
Yeah.
I remember I went shopping all day before that because it was last minute. I got my dress. I was printing out my headshots at like 2 a.m. I remember I was so last minute. And then I fell asleep. I woke up at like 10 a.m. I missed the whole audition.
No way.
I was like, I texted her. I was like, sorry, I overslept. Crying. I was so sad.
It wasn't meant to be.
Oh my God, yeah, everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It's so crazy.
Wow.
I overslept on the audition day, so I didn't even audition for the Raiders. But like I said, like I was already pretty down on myself, so that whole year I really wasn't focused a lot on making the team because I didn't think I was going to audition.
Oh.
I mean, I did dance still at school here and there, but really I want to say it was a couple days before Niners the next year, or maybe even the night of. I remember it being like a really close call, and everyone's like, oh, are you going to audition again? I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. But I remember I lived in San Francisco at the time, and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm here.
Right.
I might as well do it. Like, why not?
What do you have to lose?
Right. And I think I was sick. I remember being like, oh, I'm sick anyway. I can't go. And I want to say like 2 days before, I was miraculously healed, and I auditioned again.
Everything happens for a reason.
So crazy because and I went that day like, my goal is just to make it now to finals. Like, let me just go one step further because I decided like, let me change my mentality. Let me not go in and think like I'm going to make this team. Let me just improve for myself. So I went in thinking like, okay, as long as I make it to the finals, it'll be great. And I was literally so surprised as I kept getting further and further. And I'm telling you, I still remember that feeling of when I saw my name on that roster for the first time.
Aww.
I could not believe it. Like, I could not believe it, from going from 1 year of like not making it to finals and then to making the team. Like, it was the craziest thing. It's still so weird to like look back and think about it.
Right. I bet.
It's just, yeah, I mean, isn't that wild? It's like, I feel like things always happen when like you've like just stopped trying so hard, right? Like that's such like the case with like so many things in life. And I think, I mean, and what has kept like coming into my head, like as you're talking about just like the disappointment you felt after that first year auditioning is like, you were born and raised like 49er faithful, and like to audition for the Raidettes, like you would be completely going against like, literally like the fan base is called the faithful. Like you can't, you don't do that.
You're right.
So like it all like just worked out so poetically, and I live for it.
I know.
I agree. It's so crazy.
So, okay, so you made the team when you were 19. And what was it like growing up, quite literally, on the team? Like what? How do you think that shaped you?
Yeah, like so how is like the person like Bria who started compared to like the Bria who ended?
I thinking about that, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know who I would be if I wasn't on that team. I kind of don't even remember myself, because really I was so young. I was 18 years old, and just, I don't even know, but I absolutely grew up on this team. I feel like I learned everything about being an adult on this team. I feel like meeting the people that I met, they pushed me to do better in school because I was just not really a school person, really. You know, it took me forever to graduate, but I really truly think I wouldn't have graduated if it wasn't for this team because there's so many girls on this team that are just like so motivated and they're like goal getters, and it's almost as infectious. You can't not, you know, taste your goals when you have friends like that. If you're surrounded by these amazing people, you're automatically going to chase those craziest dreams. So I feel like I owe it to that team because I definitely wouldn't be who I am today at all.
Snaps. That's just all right. So out of your whole 7 years on the Gold Rush, who would you say was your biggest role model, someone that you looked up to the most?
Dang. Yeah, I feel like, okay, when you think of 7 years, I met so many people, right? Like, I don't even think I can pick one person, like at all. I don't think I can pick one person, but I do feel like each year I learned something from like different people. But I will say, like, role model wise, I always really like had a great relationship and really looked up to our coach at the time, Chris. I feel like she was just like the definition of a good person.
Right.
And I feel like, yes, I learned something from everyone on the team, but I feel like, you know, even when you're younger and you have a coach, you look up to your coach, right? And I feel like that's what Kristen was for me. And she's just good people. And I feel like I'll always look up to her. She just, I could say so many great things about her, but I probably don't even have enough. But like I said, like I've learned something from everybody. But Kristen is like, you guys experience Kristen. Like, she's just amazing. And I just like definition of good people.
Definitely a hard coach to, you know, to top. Like it's like with well, and it's interesting too because you started the team so young, which, side note, I was convinced, like, after my first season auditioning that I didn't make it because I wasn't 21 yet, and I, like, completely wrote off, like, every other reason that it could have been, and then I get on the team, and I find out, like, I got on the team when I was 18, I got on the team when I was 19, and then Caitlin walks in, I'm 18, like, I'm like, okay, sweet, so I just was like, it wasn't my time.
So, like, take that out of the equation.
Exactly, but, I was talking to someone the other day about, you know, how, I mean, I coached a high school team, and they were saying, like, yeah, like, high school is so special because you're able to have such, like, there's opportunity to have such a big impact on their lives and, like, who they become as people. And that's, like, 100%, like, a part of, you know, what Gold Rush was for you. It's, like, it's such, like, a transitional period of your life, like, your late teens, like, into, like, early adulthood. It's, like,
Agreed.
just everything is changing so fast. Like, you're learning so much about yourself and the world. And, you know, I mean, it's like, you know, it's like best case scenario, I think, to be in, like, put into this room of women who, you know, some of which have, like, so many things figured out, and then others, like, kind of need some guidance or mentorship. And so it's just
it's
awesome.
a great
pairing. And I would say, like, going back now that you guys, you know, you asked me about, like, who are my role models. Like, when you say, you know, mentorship and guidance, I think of, like, my very first year, and I befriended girls that were a lot older than me, and they were the Fresno group, right?
Oh,
the
I've
Fresno
heard about
group.
I've only heard
like
about the Fresno group.
The
I feel like they're legendary.
You know, they are. I never really met them, but I've heard of them.
Seriously. And I would say Taisha, Melissa, Carmen, like those Fresno girls that were, like, to me, they were so much older than me. Now I'm like, oh, how weird that we're closer in age.
Yeah.
But I mean, then I just, like, you know, they were so much older than me. They had so many years on the team. They taught me so much. They were all captains, all Pro Bowl cheerleaders. Like, I had nothing but, you know, amazing role models on Gold Rush to look up to. And I'm, like, so thankful that they took me under their wings, and we have great memories. And yeah, I just feel like I learned so much from that Fresno group. So when I think about, you know, people that helped me on this team, definitely as a 19-year-old, they kind of taught me the ropes for sure.
You know, it's so funny you bring that up because I danced with Taisha. Carmen had already retired, but you know, Melissa was my captain. But I remember Taisha was someone that I really looked up to my first year too, and that was, you know, how many years later. So it's
this is amazing.
Shout out to Taisha if you're listening.
I'll make sure she listens.
Yeah, it's sisterhood. All right, so what I really want to know about is, so you cheered on the Gold Rush for 7 seasons, and then you made the transition to NBA. Can you tell them a little bit, like, what made you decide to go for Warriors?
Yeah. I feel like Warriors was something that I kind of always had in the back of my mind that I kept pushing back, Like, really, I was so comfortable on the team on Gold Rush because I did 7 years, right? And once you do something for so long, it's like, this is me, this is what I do. Like, even if I did want to try something new, it's scary. It's like, okay, am I going to leave this comfortable, shell that I have and go try out for something where, one, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I'm going to be good at it. I don't know if I'm going to like it. But yeah, it's always been something that was in the back of my mind. So when I retired from Gold Rush, it was not something that I was even thinking about. It was not like I was leaving to go to Warriors at all. Like, when I left Gold Rush, I made sure that I was leaving because I was done and I was fulfilled, and I knew that I could move forward to whatever, the next thing I was moving into. So I actually, after months of being in off season, I took a dance class. It was through Sima Ware. Michelle Vaughn was in town teaching, and I went by myself, which is like not really something I would do. I remember I asked someone to go with me, but she was like, "Oh, we have a photo shoot for Gold Rush," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, the first thing that I wasn't a part of, and I'm like, "All my friends are busy."
Oh.
So I was like, "I'll go by myself. It's fine." Like, I really wanted to see Michelle and take her class, so I went by myself, had a great time. And at the end of the class, Hanny and Lizzie came up to me and we were talking, and Hanny and Lizzie are on Warriors. And Hanny goes, "You should audition for Warriors." And I was like, "Oh, girl, no, I'm done. I'm retired. I'm moving on from this dance life. I'm just here for fun," kind of thing.
Right.
And freaking Hanny, that stuck in my mind. I went home and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I think I should audition for Warriors." Like, like, it automatically, she like brought back that feeling of like, "Oh my gosh, it's something I've always wanted to do. Oh no, I'm scared. Like, I just left this amazing thing. Like, what if I don't make it? I'm gonna look crazy. Like, just all the things that we tell ourselves,
And then you're a rookie again, to go from Pro Bowl cheerleader to rookie. That
exactly. And
wild.
It's new waters, like, I was so nervous, but I couldn't get Hanny's voice out of my head. And I ended up reaching out to Emily, who is actually assistant coach on the Warriors, who I know through Gold Rush.
E2K.
And I told her, "Hey, like, I'm thinking about auditioning for Warriors. What do you think?" And she calls me and she's like, "Do it. Don't think about it. Come to the prep class." She's like telling me all these things. And I'm like, "Emily, are you crazy? Am I crazy? Like, what's going on?" I talked to her for so long. She was like so encouraging, like telling me to do it. I ended up going to the prep class, and I kind of like prefaced it to myself, like, "Okay, you're just going. You're going to have fun. See what it is. You might love it. You might hate it. Whatever. It's just a prep class. No harm, no foul." Right. And of course, I go there. It's the best day of my life. I have so much fun. It's great. I'm like, I'm meant to be here. So, and mind you, this was all like a week after I met Hanny. It happened so quickly. Then the auditions were like 2 weeks later. It was so fast.
Well, yeah. Well, and we were working at the same dance studio, and I feel like you like offhand mentioned like maybe you were gonna do it, and I like threw my audition outfit at you, and I was like, "You need to wear this."
I forgot about that.
You're making the team.
Jules by Joan.
Yes.
Jules by Joan.
Erin did.
Like, was
That's
on
you.
that floor. Yes, and she rocked it. Oh,
I totally forgot about that.
Yes.
You really, you brought me that audition outfit. You're like,
the black with the red and gold sparkles.
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was feeling confident too. That was shout out to you, Erin.
Yes. Oh, and Jewel and Joan, dance mom, Jewel by Joan.
Yes, the best. I got so many compliments, by the way. So
love it.
Shout out to your mama.
A showstopper for sure, but also like you're a showstopper, so
it was a good pair. Yeah,
great pairing.
Loved it so much.
So we go from 7-year vet, captain, Pro Bowl, like literal leader of the pack, to rookie again. Like, that's such a crazy transition and dynamic change. And I mean, it's also like a different world though, right? Like NBA versus NFL. So where do we even begin?
I mean, so when I went into it, like, I knew it's kind of like same but different, right? That's kind of how I went into it. Like, I think I was putting that pressure on me of like, "Oh, you have to make this team. Like, this is what you do." And I felt kind of like the outside pressure, which I don't think it was maybe outside pressure. I think I was probably, making it up in my head at the end of the day. But like, it is the same but different. But I was pretty like hard on myself that whole entire audition process. Actually, it was like a training camp, so really it was very extended.
Oh my gosh, I
But it
forget
was
about
like,
training camp. Like
yes,
I can't even
yes.
imagine.
It was my first training camp ever, and let me tell you, I was struggling, but it was overall like that transition to go from being on a team for so long to being a rookie in a new environment. Like I really had to humble myself because you go from knowing the program, like the back of your hand inside out. You could do things with your eyes closed to being like, okay, I need to take a step back. I don't know everything. I need to, learn when it's time to learn, but also be confident in my abilities and know that, yes, I might have a little bit more experience and that could help me. And I need to be confident in that experience that I have, because I'm not a true rookie, by the name of the word rookie, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I feel like I needed to, be humble, but also be confident in my expertise, which is obviously pro dance. And I feel like that took me a while. I didn't really get that mentality until well after training camp, because let me tell you, that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Gosh, emotionally, mentally,
yes, physically.
physically. Check, check, check.
Physically, that was my number one. That was hard. It was.
Let's just like preface this with like Bria has like the ultimate brain for choreography.
Oh,
like
really
she can
does.
remember a routine from like 2008, like on the spot. Like
Blessing and a curse.
yes, like she like hears the song and it's there, like down to the and counts. And like you, in conversations that we've had, like you have said that it was like the most challenged you'd ever been with dancing, but it also was like you've never danced that well in your life. So
yeah,
I guess like would you say that was a hard transition, because was there more routines with NBA versus NFL, or were they just more intense choreographically?
Yeah.
So that's a good question. I would say maybe the amount of routines wasn't overwhelming for me. I didn't really have issues with remembering the routines, I would say.
Yeah, we know that.
Oh yeah.
Like there was there was a bunch of routines. We did repeats and things like that. So I don't think it was anything different from like Gold Rush of like the amount of routines. Yeah. I would say like just the energy you needed to have. Like I feel like also like this past year when I was in Warriors, like I got like a new job. Literally the same exact week I made Warriors, I got a new job. So I feel like everything in my life was different.
Where was your job and what are you doing? Because, here on Breaking Formation, we like to talk about how we do lots of other things as well as pro dance. So
yeah. So I when I was auditioning for Warriors right before, I was teaching dance with Erin, and then the week of I got a job at Google. I'm on contract at Google. I work as a program manager. So I started that literally the week of audition. So if you can only imagine, everything in my life was new at the time, right? Like it was just 9 to 5 new, just getting trained, getting information thrown my way. And then from whatever 7 to like 11 p.m., I was at Warriors training camp, just
trying to stay alive.
And then Bria was literally like the favorite teacher at the studio, and so they were like writing her in to like teach a class like every night of the week, and she was like, oh, I'm sorry everyone, I really don't want to disappoint you, but I'm not a superhuman. Like, well, I like, oh my god, like honestly you are a superhuman, but like it just was like there was no room. Like you would have been like commuting to one of your 75 other obligations. Yeah, no sleep.
And I never slept, but like that transition of, okay, now like I have this new job, I have this new gig with the Warriors, like literally my whole day was just new. And then not only am I being, using my brain all day at work, I go to Warriors, and then we're like learning choreography, cleaning choreography. We're doing, in the beginning we were like doing a lot of workouts, and I was like physically exhausted. And like not only did I have to drive 2 hours in Bay Area traffic after work, I had to dance until like 11 o'clock at night. So like I feel like I was having an outer body experience. I was so happy to be there, like this great dream, this great accomplishment, but I was physically just so tired. Like I couldn't I felt like I couldn't give my all. It was so hard for me because I felt like it was something that I wanted, but I just was so overwhelmed all the time. And it
Yeah.
took me a very long time to get in the groove where I was like, all right, I have energy now. But even towards the end of the season, I was still struggling to get
How did
that
you not
energy.
get sick like every day? Like, how did you not like just fall ill?
Right? I have no idea. By the grace of God, that's literally how I made it because your girl was struggling. That's like the only word I can use.
So what did you think as far as like difficulty level?
Oh, yeah. I would say the dances were just like more intricate. You you use your whole entire body, like, and I'm a tall person. You got to get low for the
Oh
shorties.
my
Like I feel like I
God,
was
we all
dancing
feel
in a
that.
full plie the whole entire time, and I feel like on NFL you're wearing, at least Gold Rush, we wear those boots. Sometimes you're wearing a skirt, so like a lot of the movements are very uppity and kind of like more placed and controlled. Whereas Warriors, you're wearing tennis shoes, you're able to get down. So
You're on
if
the
you're able to do
court.
it, you're gonna be getting down. There's nothing
Yeah.
holding you back where you have to play it safe. So I feel like it was physically, the dances are just more demanding, but they're fun. And I feel like we got to do so many different styles. It was so fun. We did
Yeah.
ballroom. We did
Yeah,
like a
that's right.
Chicago piece.
That's like, I mean, and that's like one of the things about Warriors too, is like that team is known for being so impeccably clean and like down to the hair whips, right? Like
Mhm.
just everything is like spot on. And I was gonna say, like, so not only are you just going 110% in your professional career outside of dancing, but you're going and like you're drilling the same thing over and
Mm-hmm.
over. And from what I've heard about, the coaching staff is like they don't beat around the bush. Like there's no time to like, be nice about it.
Mm-hmm.
They're straight up front. And so it's like it takes such like a mental strength and like I mean they're
Mhm.
just like such like I mean I don't even know like what to
No,
call
I
it.
totally,
Strength
I
just
get
doesn't even,
you.
like it
It
doesn't
does.
even like encompass like what I'm trying to say, but it's like just that perseverance like to just live your life and then
And
also
be
like still have fun, while
Yes,
being so tired. Like but that also is just like a comment on your passion for this and just like how much
absolutely.
you love what you're doing. So
I
Mhm.
I feel
dang.
like, I would look at Warriors like you said, like iconic NBA dance team, right? Like so clean, everything is just so sharp, and everyone is doing the same exact move. And until I joined the team, I didn't I didn't understand how much work that took. The amount of
Mhm.
cleaning that I was actually taken back. Like the first time we cleaned the routine, I was like, oh, they're wondering where my thumbs are going. I'm used to dancing with palms. I'm like, I haven't thought about my thumbs in years.
I haven't thought about my thumbs in years.
Seriously, they're going to little like details that you don't even think about. Kitty corner, like
Yeah.
it's just wild. And so that was actually a big transition for me because we clean dances, but I feel like nobody cleans dances like the Warriors dance team. Nobody. And but that is
Well,
what makes us
yeah.
so good. And like you said, our coaching staff, they are like top of the line. Like I have
Yeah.
nothing but good things to say about each of them. Like they
Yeah.
hold you accountable, which yes, they are tough, but at the end of the day, this is a job. You need to be held accountable.
Mhm.
You know your stuff. Nobody wastes each other's time. Also, we only had a little bit of time at our practices. We all go
Yeah.
to work, go to school, and only have this short amount of time that they hold you accountable. Your teammates are there. We're all working hard. No, there's no one slacking, and they make sure of that. And I think that's what makes the program so amazing. And everyone is happy at the end of the day because our product is amazing. We have great people, and I really truly think that like the coaching staff is A1 for sure.
Definitely starts from the top and works its way down, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a reason, the Warriors are known for being so spot on and clean and amazing. Like it starts with the management and starts like from the top, exactly how Jordan said, it trickles down. And then I mean the
Mm-hmm.
other thing is like just in general on a basketball court, you can't really get away with the amount of mistakes that you might be able to get away with on a football field, right? It's
Yes,
like we're so much more spread out, so much further away.
you can't hide.
Yeah, exactly. There's no hiding on a court with a team of what, 16 versus 40. So
Yeah, it would be, we had small numbers. Like, I think the first game that I danced at, I remember telling myself, I was like, oh my gosh, you're exposed. There's no way that, like, no matter where you stand in the formation, someone can see you. Because it was sometimes, 15 girls. We did have 21,
Yeah.
but it was just, I felt so exposed.
Can't pick the wedgie.
No, you can't stumble. There's times where I tripped and like everyone saw. I was the only person they saw. Like, that's
Oh
how
my
it felt.
god. Yeah.
Was there a favorite routine on the Warriors that you got to perform?
Yes, I think most people know my favorite routine. But it was to the song "The Way You Move" by Outkast.
Okay.
It was a
Ooh,
vibe. It was a vibe.
fun.
I just love that song. I love a good throwback, and it was so chill. Like, you look at it and you're like, okay, it's just like kind of slow, even, but like honestly, you're dying, can't breathe. It's like so hard. Literally, not an easy routine, but when you watch it from the outside, you're like, oh, such a vibe, so chill. And inside, I was dying, but
Yeah, that's how you know that you're doing it right, making it look effortless.
right, because it was not effortless. But yeah, definitely my favorite routine.
What was your favorite routine from Gold Rush? And I know you remember all of the choreography.
Ooh, that's a hard one from Gold
There's
Rush.
been a lot. I know, over 7 years worth. How do you
Oh my
pick?
gosh. Can I pick like a first half and a second half maybe?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
So my first year, I think it was it was definitely my first year. It was a sideline choreographed by Lindsay Rosenberg. It was to "Start to Get Loose." Tells you
Ooh.
what year this was, right? By Little Mama and Chris Brown. It was such a fun one. I say that's probably like one of my favorite routines that we did. But then again, I have so many. And then from my like later years, I feel like we had so many good ones.
Did you like Pumps and a Bump?
Oh, there you go. There you go. There it is. There it is. You know it, because were we in
Pumps
the
and
same line that year?
Yeah, I think so.
I actually really like that
Tony
routine too.
G.
Tony G,
Yeah.
yes.
Tony G.
Tony
Okay, I'm
G.
not even gonna lie. I did that dance like probably a month ago because I found the music and
Of course you did.
it was great. I had so much fun.
Pumps and a bump,
Yeah, number one
pumps and a
routine,
bump.
"Pumps and a Bump" by Tony G. It's just, I love a good old school groove. That was also a vibe. That was
That
good.
was a good one.
I
Major
love
vibe.
that so much.
He choreographed some good stuff that was like, it just like made sense. It wasn't too
Yes.
like everywhere and it just like made sense.
It hit.
So good.
It hit for
Oh my
sure.
gosh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that dance.
Yes, let's all
God.
relearn it.
I don't even remember it. Yeah.
Let's have Bria teach us because she doesn't need to relearn it.
Actually, fun fact, I did some of that choreo in my Warriors solo.
Did you really? Oh my God.
I actually did it.
God.
I was like, let me do my favorite choreo ever. Oh, "Pumps and a Bump." No joke. I'll show you. Jordan, you came to watch me.
Yeah, I was just like sitting there just like, oh, this is so fun watching. So, okay, back to Niners. So, your first year, like we briefly mentioned before, you went to the Super Bowl. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I went to Super Bowl in 2013. It was the 2012-13 season. Super Bowl 47 against the Ravens in New Orleans. Yeah, I remember my dad telling me, like, you don't realize how lucky you are. Like, some girls, I'm sure they go their whole career without making the Super Bowl, and here you are going your rookie year. And I remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. But I feel like I didn't really understand how cool it was, like I did, but I didn't. Now looking back, I'm like, that was amazing. And I feel like it was so long ago that I kind of don't even really remember it. And I don't really have photos because, like I said, like Instagram was, I barely got an Instagram that year.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like 2013. Like it was like the ancient times.
I'm almost positive like people had digital cameras. Like I do have some photos on my old laptop like that people sent. Like I'm pretty sure we had actual digital cameras.
In like
That's
the
awesome.
camera pic in the mirror.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
Yes. So I feel like I don't really like, I have memories, but I have to really think about some things. But it was amazing. Like we did lose. I mean, you guys know that feeling. It kind of like, it's kind of like bittersweet, right? Like
we know it. Yep.
You're such a great week, but like it's like you don't win the game, but then you look back and you're still so thankful and you still had great memories. But it's like, oh, I wish I could have got that W, but
sealed the deal, yeah. But I mean, geez, you guys were in New Orleans. Like that's like such a prime location too.
Yes,
like
it was so fun.
Didn't the power go out? Or was that another?
Go out.
Yes.
Beyonce.
Beyonce?
Yeah.
Yeah. So wait, what happened?
Actually, it's funny because I remember everyone was saying, "Oh, the power went out." Like, how dark was it? Like, what did you do when the power went out? And I kind of remember. I think I said, "Did it get darker?" Because it wasn't that dark in there, to be honest. Like, I think I had to ask, "Did it get darker? Or is it just me?" And then obviously the scoreboard was out, and then it was just kind of like quiet. But yeah, it was just a weird, like, awkward pause. We were just kind of standing there. There was no music. The Ravens cheerleaders, they're cheerleaders, but they were like throwing people up, and like people were cheering because they're entertaining the crowd, and we're just kind of standing there, hands on the hips, like, we need some music because there's nothing we can really do. I think we did like maybe a Let's Go Niners kind of situation. But it was pretty brief from what I remember. It wasn't like anything super, super crazy.
That's crazy.
Good time, so.
And then we went our last year, so.
Yeah, you guys did it.
We closed it out, and then you like opened it up with the Super Bowl.
There you go. Yeah. And then we just it's funny because I do think like it's cool like that I got to go at all, but I'm like, oh, if I stayed one more year, maybe I could have like opened and closed, but hey, it wasn't.
I've thought about that too for you, to be honest. That would have been pretty legendary, but I mean, you had a pretty legendary run in general. So, but yeah, and then it's like to lose twice, like you didn't need that. You didn't need that. Like, no one deserves to
no one needed that
and lose twice. No. Oh man. All right. So Bria, NBA and NFL all included. Do you have a game that was your favorite game?
Favorite game. I mean, I feel like there's so many amazing games. Like I remember the very last game at Candlestick Park was so great. Like that was such the end of an era. I remember the very first game at Levi Stadium.
I forget that you were there for like that whole transition. Like that's like a super cool part of your 7 years experience too.
Bria, did you actually know that I was a fan at that game?
At the last game, that rode a candlestick?
My family were really big Niners fans, but I had never gone to a game, and that was my first and last game, the last game at Candlestick.
And that was the pick up the stick with Navarro Bowman, I believe. Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like, I feel like I'm not doing great at answering this question, but I would say the last game at Candlestick, first game at Levi's, and then obviously the game where I was announced Pro Bowl cheerleader. I feel like those are like the 3 games that really like stand out to me. Like, like those, I feel like I can't pick one. It's just so many games. And then on Warriors, I feel like my very first game, because I remember like just having like an outer body experience of like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. So those are kind of my answers. Those are my favorite games.
Wow. Okay. So then what about your worst game experience? Do you have anything for that? I know we all have our worst game, but.
Yeah. And I feel like, disclaimer, like I'm just dramatic. It wasn't terrible. I still had a great time. But December 8th, 2013, 49ers versus Seahawks, cold front in San Francisco, 30 degrees, coldest day of my entire life, wearing a sporting uniform. Like I remember shivering. And it was also Junior Gold Rush.
Oh gosh.
And I felt so bad for those children. My niece was 3 at the time and she was participating. And I just remember looking at her before we walked in the field. I was like, are you ready? And she was silent. She was frozen. All the little kids were crying. Like, it was so cold. We couldn't, like, we were dancing.
Your niece is like a little teeny little, she's still teeny at like 10. Like,
her at 3. Yes.
It's like, no.
It was the actual coldest day of my life. I had hand warmers in my palms, in my boots. I remember I wore nylons on my arms to try to help, but my nylons were cut wrong, so they were chafing my underarms. Like it was a terrible time. And there was like grown men in the crowd with blankets and hot chocolate. Like they were cold, and everyone's wearing actual clothes, and we're smiling, teeth chattering. It was the coldest day of my life. December 8th, 2013, 49ers versus Seahawks. We did beat the Seahawks, though. I remember that.
Yes. At the very least, you pulled out a W.
Yes. Coldest day ever. I have pictures. I'll show you guys. It's wild.
Wow. Wait, did you say it was 40 degrees? Did I hear that correctly?
30.
30?
Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
I'm telling you, it was cold like all week in San Francisco. And it was just, and if you have been to Candlestick Park, like it gets cold,
Yep.
like that
Well, okay.
wind in
San
San
Francisco.
Francisco.
Yeah.
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 Insane.
Well, and
So,
it just it sounds like it just had the absolute opposite issues that Levi's does, like where we just bake in the sun.
exactly.
So, and because you were saying it's Junior Gold Rush, and to me, Junior Gold Rush is, well, let's get ready to dance on the surface of the sun, like
yes. Oh
for
my
the
goodness.
whole weekend. So it's like that's worse. I don't know. Maybe we should start a poll. Who would rather be freezing versus hot?
I don't know. I would say like
You experienced both, Bria, because I
yeah.
personally would rather be cold, but I also have never danced in 30-degree weather. So
I feel like, it'd be okay to be cold if we had the right uniforms. We don't
True.
have that. We just have a
It's
regular
true.
short uniform with the jacket that's like paper thin. Like if we were dressed, appropriately, like that'd be great. Because I've talked to, my Pro Bowl sisters that like actually cheer in the snow, and they like said they have Uggs and like actual like parka or something. Like they're dressed for the weather.
They're ready.
I remember talking to some of the Chiefs cheerleaders at Super Bowl, and they were like, they were just like, I wish I remember specifically like what they said, but they were talking about how like Vaseline like on your feet or something keeps you like from like going numb. It's like something like some weird trick that like we just never had to think about. Like, yeah, and it was like, I mean, they have like team snow boots, like the whole deal. Like, they're straight up outside, like in the snow cheering.
And see, like then I feel like bad complaining because I think I've actually mentioned this to the girls that I know at Pro Bowl. Actually, my girl Kayla from the Philadelphia Eagles, who Philly gets very cold. She's like laughing at me because like I'm saying it's 30 degrees, like LOL,
She's
30
like,
degrees. Yeah. And actually, our I guess I talked about how bad that game was. Our group chat is actually titled December 8th, 2013, 49ers versus Seahawks. That's what Kayla made our group chat name. Because she clearly thought it was funny that I complained about 30-degree weather because, clearly she knows what cold is and I don't.
Right. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, on the topic of Pro Bowl and sisters, do you want to maybe touch on how that experience was for you and in regards to like, I guess like I'm interested to know how you felt going in and how you were like surprised by your experience. Was it what you expected, or like how was all of that for you?
Yeah, I feel like everyone tells you, oh, it's so amazing, it's going to be the best week of your life. And I feel like you can hear that, but until you really get it and like you experience it, you just don't understand how amazing it really is. And I know everyone's experience is different, but I truly felt like I don't even know how I was able to like love these people in like what 7 days. Like, not saying I'm not capable of that, but you know what I mean? Like just 7 days of knowing people. I feel like I've known them my whole entire life. Like that was an amazing group of people. And it's so crazy because I just like, like life works out in different ways. And I just feel like we all individually were meant to know each other. And I can say like I can have a conversation with any one of those girls and it would just feel like, we haven't skipped a beat. They were all so unique. And I feel like that year, it was just something special. And if you ask anyone that really experienced that Pro Bowl, the diversity of that team was just unheard of. And it was just really history in the making. And I was so happy to be a part of that. It was just, I can't even like say the right words, it was just, it was amazing to say the least.
I remember that post hit the Black Girls Cheer page, and I was like, oh, because I think whoever runs that account, I don't know her name, but she was saying that like she went to Pro Bowl or something where she was like the only one, and then you know like however many years fast forward, like it's like so much better representation. Like still, I mean, we can be better, but like that's just I mean that's awesome that you got to be a part of that for sure. And I do remember hearing something. Wasn't Ron?
Yes, Ron Kellum.
And so I think he plays like a major role in like kind of bringing everyone together and like kind of like forcing everybody to just be super real, like from the beginning, right? Like, or just I don't know, like
you got the right idea. Ron definitely is, he makes teams better, and he's technically the director of the Pro Bowl cheerleader, so he's involved hands on. But I remember him saying that this was like, I want to say the first group where he didn't have to come in and make us a team, that we already came in as a team, because, social media and we have a group me, and we literally weeks before Pro Bowl even happened, we were like, so who wants to talk about their game day experience? Let's take turns, just sending like paragraphs back and forth to each other. So I feel like we got to know each other, before we actually got to Pro Bowl. So they did say that this team was very meshed before we even got there. So that was really great. It was a special team, and really like having 7 Black women on the Pro Bowl cheerleaders is like an amazing thing. And even like beyond that, like the girls themselves, all of us, like everyone was just so unique and so sweet and genuine. And I feel like that just was really like a huge highlight of my career as an NFL cheerleader. And I can't think of really a better way to go out, because I left with just like this huge appreciation of like what I do.
Yeah. I just love that so much, because I don't know, like I feel like whenever I get into conversations with people and it comes out that like, oh, I cheer for the 49ers, some weird comment comes around usually that's like, oh, well, ooh, awkward, like I'm a Raiders fan, or I know someone on the Warriors team, or I know someone who cheers for the Raiders, and it's just like, but yeah, I probably know them and I'm probably their friend, like type of thing, right? And so like there's never, it's not like a ooh, like we're enemies because
there's no
our football
rivalry.
team played each other last week. So that's really cool.
None at all. There's no rivalry. Like, I mean, obviously there's some teams like, Seahawks. I'm not a huge Seahawks fan for obvious reasons, but like Jessica, the Seahawks Pro Bowl cheerleader, like that's my girl. Like I would never, like it just doesn't exist. It's all for fun and games. Really, at the end of the day, football's a game. It's fun and games. And then at the end of the day, like there's no rivalry amongst the girls. Everyone is great at the end of the day.
And for those who are listening and don't really know anything about NFL cheer or any of that, Pro Bowl, each year one girl is selected, or one team member I should say is selected from each team. It depends. I think some teams the coaches select, correct? The directors select?
Yeah, everyone's different.
And so one person from the team is selected to represent their team at the Pro Bowl.
It's like, obviously, so that's rare to be selected as Pro Bowl, because, generally there's only one girl that goes from each team every year. That's just how it works. And then the other thing that's super rare is to encounter other cheerleaders on the job. Like you really only get to experience that if you're Pro Bowl or if you go to Super Bowl, because as NFL teams and NFL rules say, they don't allow visiting cheer teams on the field.
Right.
So it's only home field cheerleaders at any given game, unless it's the Super Bowl or the Pro Bowl. Do you remember like any of like the careers of your Pro Bowl sisters? Like anything that like stood out to you as like, wow, like how does she do that?
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot of teachers, which I feel like is very common for cheerleaders. And I think that's because we are like people that just are good deep down, good people that love to help others. So I think that's why a lot of us go into the teaching field. I know, I think Elena from the Panthers, I want to say she did a lot of charity work, a nonprofit. Oh, wow. I think she worked for a nonprofit. So I thought that was interesting. Sorry, Elena, if I got that wrong, but I'm almost positive. Candace from the Redskins, like if you haven't looked up what Candace does, like she's amazing.
I can totally picture her, and I've never even met her before.
Yeah, I think she's like a software engineer. Like she's
a software engineer. Wow.
Yeah, she's a beast. Candace, Johnny, I think at the time she was a college dance team coach. Like everyone has like their own careers. We have a lot of, I think Gia from the Broncos, she has her own dance studio. It's just, everyone is doing like amazing things. It's just you'd be surprised because like you said, you know, a lot of people, I don't know, actually I don't know if you said it, but I know we've talked about it, but like a lot of girls get that question of like, oh, you, what else do? You do something outside of cheer? And it's like the careers that people have will shock you
Yeah.
because
Oh,
they're, you know, they're just these amazing humans that are so smart and have so many layers to them. They're not just dancers.
Yes. 100%. So, Bria, how do you think that you are breaking formation and breaking stereotypes? How would you answer that question?
Yeah. I think, okay, so kind of going back to, you know, I was telling you when I found out about Warriors auditions after talking to Hanny, um, one of the first things that came to my mind was, oh no, like I have braids right now. Because after Gold Rush, you know, I decided to get braids because, you know, it's been some years since I was able to do something that I wanted to do with my hair. So I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, like one, it's hard to dance with braids, but two, like, can I audition with braids? Like that was like a genuine question I had. And
Yeah.
when I talked to Emily about wanting to go to the prep class, I did say, you know, I have braids right now. Is that okay? And she's like, yeah, of course it's okay. Like just come. Like she kind of like couldn't believe that I asked that, but I was like genuinely wanting to know, is that okay? And I think it's just it's something that has never really been talked about, especially in NFL. Like I never once asked, can I have braids? I probably didn't really want them either, but I mean, you know, it's not something I asked, it's not something I saw. And so there's like this unspoken thing of like, you need to blend. As a Black woman, obviously your hair is not going to be like the others, but you need to do your best. So that means what? A weave, a wig. That means something to make yourself look like what you see these NFL teams are portraying as the ideal cheerleader, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like more so now you see different looks, but especially back like in 2010, 2011, when I was first looking at these teams, you just saw a lot of blondes and in straight hair, long hair, you know. So I feel like Black women that come into this world, they know without even being told, you need to get a weave in your head because you cannot show up with your natural hair or even just like a protective style that maybe you would feel comfortable with, maybe that's easy and more manageable. You have to blend. So like I said, it's like an unspoken thing, right? So
yeah.
I went to the prep class and I went with my braids, and let me tell you, it was hard to dance with braids. They were smacking in my face, but I did it. And I was still a
And
little
they were
bit
just, I mean, you look so bomb. Like, I mean, you
Yeah.
look bomb with all your hairstyles that you've had since I've known you, but like, oh my gosh, like your braids were show stopping.
I love them. They're so fun. But dancing, I was kind of like self conscious of like, is this going to keep me from making this team? Like, are they now looking at my look versus how I'm dancing? And I remember Emily after the prep class coming back to me saying she talked to Sabrina and she likes them. She thinks they're great. I should definitely keep them. And I was like, are you serious? Like I was not expecting that. And I think I even told her like, are you sure? I'll take them out. Like I'll figure something out by whatever, you know, the audition date. And she told me, no, keep them. And so, you know, you get your look once you make the team, you get your look. And I remember being like my jaw dropped when I saw that Sabrina printed out a picture of someone with braids. And I'm like, oh, I'm keeping my braids. And she said something like, you know, like this is how you came in, this is how you feel comfortable, this is you. Why would we change that?
Oh.
And I just remember like I was just so surprised. And I feel like for me, that was a way, I guess, that I was breaking formation. And like, you know, there's, especially being in the Bay, like there's a bunch of young Black girls that are looking at the Warriors dance team that maybe are at Chase Center at the games. And I've actually gotten some messages from some girls of like, you know, I want to try out for the Warriors dance team. And I look at their page and they're like young Black girls with braids in their hair. And it makes me feel so proud because I wish that I had that representation, because representation totally matters, you know, like thankfully I'm kind of that girl that tries anything pretty much, you know, but like what about the people that, you know, really just need one person that looks like them, you know, and to know that you can be beautiful with braids, with whatever hairstyle you want, something that's natural for you. You don't have to get a weave. And I feel like this year I was so happy And honestly, the braids were so hard to dance with. But
well, I remember talking to you about it. It's like,
yeah, it was
I
hard.
mean,
It's
yes,
different,
I mean,
not
and
something you weren't used to.
Yeah,
exactly,
it was so hard.
and I think like the touching on the point of the unspoken kind of like assumption that you have to have a more smooth looking hairstyle or a weave or a wig or what have you. I think it's also like it's reflective of the time that you started in the pro dance world, of course. Like we're
Absolutely.
obviously it was almost a decade ago, like we were talking about earlier, and then it's also you were so young, like and you don't really have like or I mean, you've said you grew up on Gold Rush, so I'm sure like your sense of identity
Yeah.
was like, I will be whatever you want me to be. Like what do
Absolutely.
you want me to be? And I think like it's totally a privilege, like from like coming from a perspective of someone who never had to worry about the like texture of your hair or how that looks and if that's going to make or break your spot, right? It's like,
Mhm.
and I think like how we move forward, like there's lots of things going on in the world right now that I think are pushing us in the right direction, but I think another huge step is just having conversations about it.
Mhm.
And how representation is just so important, like with anything, but especially with pro dance where so much of how we are known is based on image. It's
Yeah.
like, how do we make sure that that includes everyone and makes the point of saying we're beautiful because we're different, right?
Right.
It's
Yes.
like it's the beauty is within the diversity and within like just coming together over like a shared passion and a shared love for the craft and the sport and what we're doing out there on the field.
Yes. I agree. 1000%. Yes, girl. Preach.
Wow, I literally teared up though when you were talking about
No,
representation because it's so
It's
true.
so
It's
true.
like honestly, like I don't know. I mean, well, and to be honest, like I auditioned my first season. I guess I did have my curly hair, but I had extensions in, and
Mhm.
then I obviously made the decision to straighten it, which was then, made to be my look. And I was completely cool with having that be my vibe for my first 3 years. And, I kind of had a moment where it didn't feel like me anymore. And I kind of felt like
Mhm.
I really wanted to embrace just, my literal roots. Like my
Yes.
curly hair was
Yeah, and it's
just
beautiful.
thank you. And I mean it was just kind of like begging me to like just give it a break, right? But I wasn't done dancing and it is kind of ridiculous that I like had to have a conversation like, "Oh, I'm going to chop all my hair off. Like is this still okay?" But I will say like
Mhm.
our director and our coaches were so like once I did like, let go of that like unspoken like I don't want to like be a bother. I don't want to like say something and have them think I'm not grateful or, whatever like but
Yeah.
like when I let go of that fear and just ask like,
Mhm.
"Hey, I really need to do this. Like is that okay?" Our coaches were super supportive and they were like, "Of
Mhm.
course. Like this is not going to make or break you making the team. Like it
Yes.
never would." And so I think it also is just I don't know. It's about like finding that confidence within yourself and then like having it just
Mhm.
exude on the outside all in all forms of just being genuine and being yourself.
Yeah,
Yes,
So
I agree.
definitely.
and how you and I guess like expressing that through like your hairstyle is like such a big part, at least for women, like in
Mhm.
and especially as pro dancers. So
Absolutely. I I think, like I said, like it was the biggest struggle in my life to dance with braids, but what kept me going was that I know that it needed to be done. It needed to be, right now we're like normalize wearing braids as a professional dancer. Like I know that needed to be a thing. So
Yeah.
I was
right.
definitely
And it's like
positive.
I want to be like, yeah, it was a statement, but I'm like, oh, but it shouldn't be a statement, but it
Yeah,
was. But
I was.
let's
Yeah.
make it a statement now so it doesn't have to be a statement later,
Yes, we can
right?
Mhm.
It's
normalize
just going to
it.
be,
Absolutely.
yes, it's just going to be. We're
So,
snapping.
Bria, what is next for you? What's your next
Ooh,
move?
Ooh.
that's a hard question because I feel like I don't even know what's next.
I know, 2020, who does, right?
I just moved to LA, so that's kind of what's happening for me as far as what I'm gonna do here while living in LA. I don't know. It's kind of up in the air. It's in God's hands at this point. I'm taking it um, day by day, really. I'm still working. Definitely don't want to say goodbye to dance forever. I do think though that my professional like sports dancing is done. I believe that that chapter is closed. But I'm definitely looking forward to like having dance in my life in some way, shape, or form. I feel like I'm going to always be a dancer. I'm always going to be Bria the cheerleader. I feel like that's just kind of who I've always been, even when I was like 9 years old, right? So somehow, some way, I want to definitely like stay in the dance world. But as far as professional sports dancing, definitely going to close that book.
Yeah, I mean, I think after 8 years, you're allowed to hang up those palms and say that was me, and I had a great time for sure.
You've accomplished a lot.
Yes,
and it's not over. It's a new chapter.
And it'll always be a part of you and a part of your identity and your story.
Absolutely.
Yay! Well, thank you so much, Bria. Thanks for coming and being our first guest on our show.
Yes, this was so fun.
Thank you for having me, and I'm so proud of you guys. I feel like, I remember when you both were rookies. Erin, you were actually my little sister.
I know, we didn't talk about that. How Bria was my first sister on the team.
I remember Jordan at auditions. Like, I remember you guys when you guys were young ones and
little seedlings.
Yeah, I feel Erin, you were even in my line. We stood right next to each other. It's just
we did.
It's so crazy. I just remember you guys, and I'm just so proud of how far you all have come, and you guys have grown up. I know we're not that far in age, but like I feel like you guys have grown up to be beautiful women and so accomplished and chasing your dreams. So I'm really proud of you guys. Keep going. I know this podcast has potential to be something really great, and I'm going to be getting all my friends excited about it. I promise. I'm your number one cheerleader.
Oh, thanks
thank
so
you,
much,
Bria.
You were just, I mean, there was like, I don't even think like we had like an argument for who the first guest was going to be.
It was just like Bria.
But yeah, we knew.
Someone that can talk
thank
a
you
lot.
so much. Yes, well, it's just, there's so much to talk to you about, and like just you have so much amazing experience and input. So thank you so much.
Of course, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, be sure to hit subscribe to Breaking Formation Podcast on all listening platforms and follow us on Instagram at Breaking Formation Podcast.
And if you have any questions or want to reach out, please feel free to email us at breakingformation@gmail.com and follow us on Twitter at BFPomcast. Thanks for listening.